Adema Aborson, that's what I tried to say what he said. Adema Aborson, he believe it. That's what he said. But he now went down to lament to me that ever since we began to sit at home and the sad is became uncomfortable, that his business is taking a nosedive. He told me how he used to have high profile people who would come back to the Southeast, call him on phone, come and offer home service. And he goes there, they don't pay him 1,000 naira, they don't pay him 5,000 naira. They pay him, good cash. And he goes home smiling. He told me how he, from his barbering business, he bought lands, made buildings, but now, as he's asking himself question whether he's in the wrong business or in the right business. So that brings the question of how are you going to paint the picture of what we are facing in the Southeast today?
Well, the situation as it is, it's not something that just fell from the skies today or perhaps just yesterday. It's something that started building, at least for it took root. It took about 5 or 6 years for what we are experiencing today to have a firm root. You know, and when the thing had a firm root, then it took a sudden turn around 2020. With the question of ESN and in connection to Herdsmen and what have you. But the truth again is that throughout this period, most of the people who today are complaining, who today are at the receiving end, didn't see any alternative, to the propaganda that were then the trendy thing, to believe in. So but we've been through these processes, and of course, self-preservation is the first rule of nature. And when you leave self-preservation and begin a process of self-destruction, then it leaves no doubt at all as to where you intend to end. So that brings me to the clear fact that what is happening today, uh, to me, it's not a surprise, because I've followed this event from the time it started, and a couple of columns I did, say that while insecurity is a problem, and of course, my master's thesis was focused on herdsmen attacks in the southeast, which exposed me to the nitty-gritties of the attacks, and of course, people really underestimated the impact of the herdsmen, militancy, as it were, in so many communities across the southeast. So I am well aware, well informed of these developments. But as it is now, sometimes it does appear that when you decide to destroy yourself, even the devil will leave you alone to do the job by yourself. So that exactly paints the picture of what is happening in the southeast. So it does appear that since we decide to destroy ourselves, even our enemies have left us alone to our own fate to perfect it. So there is no better way to illustrate the fact that the southeast has, unfortunately, um, popularized the idea that self-destruction is an option, or is a strategy to self-liberation.
Was this circumstantial?
Well, there are two things. First of all, this reminds me of an article I wrote so many years ago for Legit, about 7 or 8 years ago for Legit NG, while I was doing columns for legit. The case Igbos have against Nigeria, that was, if I remember correctly, that was the title of the article. Now, first of all, there are clear cases of I don't want to say marginalization, but imbalance. There are clear cases of imbalance. For instance, the Southwest has 7 states. The Northwest has 7 states. Southwest 6 states. South 6 states. Northeast 6 states. North Central 6 states. 6 states. Then Southeast has 5 states. So out of the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria, only Southeast has 5 states. And historically, the Southwest and the Southeast always have the population is always at par. Historically, they share a lot of similarities. So when you say for whatever reasons, it is just very difficult to explain why the Southeast should have 5 states, while other regions have 6 states minimum, and then you have a Northwest that has 7 states.
I think North Central also has the 7 state too.
No,
put FCT.
Yeah, I think
FCT. No, I'm not counting FCT as a
okay,
state per se. Just 36 states. 36 states. So in 36 state arrangement, only the Northwest has 7 states. Others have minimum of 6 states. But the Southeast has 5 states. This has a very, very profound implications in all respects. In terms of representation, in terms of the number of senators we have, in terms of the number of House of Reps members, in terms of opportunities that we have, in terms of our capacity to influence political decisions, to influence or to negotiate certain political advantage for the region. So this is an imbalance, and it is something that is worthy to complain about. Then secondly, Professor Chinua Achebe wrote in his book The Trouble with Nigeria extensively. He wrote how in other parts of Nigeria, in other regions of Nigeria, where you have a substantial level of federal government presence, but in the Southeast, only in the Southeast, you cannot see any viable, strong, firm presence of the federal government of Nigeria. You cannot see any relevant government agency. You cannot see any functional federal government office as a proof that the Southeast is actually part and parcel of the Nigerian project. So this, again, is an imbalance, and it is against the Southeast. Then again, there are so many other imbalances here and there. There are issues of opportunities, which essentially, because in a way, the issue of state imbalance, I think, is the foundation of every other imbalances. Because if we have additional 1 state, then so many of these would have been resolved. There are issues of lesser local governments as a result, issue of perhaps lesser higher institutions as a result, issue of opportunity in government also as a result. So in a way, you can see that the Southeast is structurally disadvantaged, and these are causes for complaints, for agitation. Now, that's on one hand. Then on the other hand, you have a situation where people do not even understand the problem at hand. People do not understand, do not appreciate what we have at hand. They do not understand the problem. They are just agitating for the sake of agitation. People are raising, people use propaganda to manipulate these issues to our own destruction. So that becomes the other part, and that is the problem. we are dealing with. So it is natural for people to feel that they have been unjustly placed where they do not, where they are not fairly treated, or placed in a way that has conditioned them to be disadvantaged as against the other people group in the country. But that does not in itself call for you to destroy yourself. So now you have a situation where there are real issues that should be addressed through a coordinated strategic approach by the leaders of Southeast. But then what we have is a situation where people who do not even understand the problem, who do not even know how these problems can be addressed, are jumping on it and using it to distract, to derail the region into self-damnation. And that is the problem we have. And so now this also takes me to the next case of the question of what do they call this again? Referendum. So these are issues that people have milked irresponsibly in a way that has now become a problem for everybody. Who calls for referendum? How can you begin to talk about referendum when you have not been able to galvanize? You have to understand that Nigeria is a country of laws. There is a constitution, there is a process. All these things, the referendum itself is a political process, and you have to influence it through the political system. So how you do that is by getting involved, is by getting in and getting into the system and seeing how you can be part of this system and how you can influence this system to your end to be able to give you what you want from the system.
Okay.
So these are the issues.
I'll come back to you, but let's look at what happened on Friday. Michael, I don't know where you were that very day, whether you were in Anambra State or you were outside the state. It was tension, pandemonium in the major cities of Anambra.